So this is Waukesha, Wisconsin, and on the night of May 31st, 2014, three 12-year-old best friends were having a typical Friday night sleepover / birthday party. The next morning, a Saturday morning game of hide and seek, which took a complete left turn and turned into attempted murder of their best friend. Now, what makes this story so strange is how two of those girls, Morgan Geyser and Anissa Weier, were absolutely obsessed with the fictional character called Slender Man. Now, if you've never heard of Slender Man, he was just a strange character. They would Photoshop that strange creature into old-timey photos and things like that. And these girls, for some reason, just started to believe that that thing was real, that they had to kill someone so that they could be either accepted into the world of the life of Slender Man, or so that Slender Man wouldn't kill them or kill their families. I mean, they absolutely believed it. The victim, Peyton Littner, was just excited for the party, for the sleepover, and Morgan and Anissa had planned on stabbing her in the throat or slitting her throat and then just covering her body up like she was sleeping, and then they were leaving for good. They were going to just then hike into the forest where they believed a big mansion, this big old mansion existed, and that's where Slender Man lived, and they were going to live there with him. So that first attempt came that night, and they were basically quietly arguing about who was going to do it. They had a kitchen knife with a 5-inch blade that they intended to kill Peyton with. The next morning, they came out to this park right here. So this park, called David's Park, is right across from where I believe Anissa lived, right here in those condos or apartments, whatever they are. And so they first the first plan was to do it there, and then the next morning they decided, well, we'll come down to this park and do it here. Their plan was to go into the bathrooms here in the park, into the women's bathroom, and they were going to stab her in there. And these are the bathrooms right here. Now, they kind of, again, quietly argued between the two of them, trying to figure out who was going to start stabbing Peyton. Thankfully, it didn't happen, because she most likely would have been left to die in this bathroom. No one most likely would have found her in there. Like I said, they believed that Slender Man was real. They wanted to prove to the world that he was real. And they were excited to leave their homes and go and live with Slender Man in the woods. One of the girls even left a note in her phone talking about how she's going to remember them and she's going to miss her family. And even when they left that morning, they packed some snacks in there. They had the knife. So after those two previous attempts, they walked down this road here through this neighborhood. Their plan was to go into the woods not far away and play hide and seek. Now, Peyton did not want to do this. She did not want to go into the woods, but she followed them anyway. I mean, they were her best friends, but she definitely felt uncomfortable about going into the forest with them. So back in 2014, this was all woods. You can see a lot's going on here, a lot of construction. This has all been kind of built or stripped away. But in 2014, this was all woods, at least on this side. And I don't know what this is. It's kind of like a strange, I guess it's like an access road that connects maybe one road to the other, but it's not really used for cars or anything. In fact, it has the chain there. So I couldn't find the exact location of where the stabbing actually happened, but it was somewhere in this woods here off to the side of this little trail. Basically, they told Peyton that they were going to play hide and seek, and at some point, apparently Anissa handed Morgan the knife, And Peyton said, "I'm only going to do it if you tell me to do it." And Anissa said, "Just go crazy, just go for it." And Morgan jumped on her best friend, Peyton. By the way, they've been friends since 4th grade or something like that. This wasn't a new friendship. And she just started stabbing her. Stabbed her 19 times. Her arms, her legs, her chest area. Later on, during questioning, the girls would talk about how Peyton was screaming in pain. So the girls left after the stabbing. They were gone. In their mind, they were gone forever. Peyton somehow had the strength. She would later tell her mother she wanted to live. She didn't want to die there. And somehow she had the strength to crawl out of the woods. So I don't know how deep she was in the woods, but she managed to crawl out to the open here. This was much more overgrown in 2014, but she managed to get out here into this little patch of grass right in front of this pole. And that's where a man named Greg Steinberg found her as he was riding his bike that morning. And you can listen to the 911 calls.
Appears to be stabbed.
She appears to be what?
Stabbed.
Stabbed?
Correct.
Okay.
Sir, you still there?
Yes.
Hi, sir. So are you with this 12-year-old female?
Yeah, she said she's having trouble breathing. She said she was stabbed multiple times.
Stabbed multiple times?
Yeah. And I'll be standing in the middle of the road.
You're in the middle of the road? And where's she, in the side of the road?
Yeah, she's on the grass. It's a little
Okay.
trail I take on my bicycle.
Okay, see. Don't hang up, sir. Just stay right with me.
Okay.
So Peyton was picked up by the ambulance, brought to the local hospital, where she thankfully survived, however, just barely. You can watch online the interviews with her doctor where he talks about how if some of those stab wounds were just, a hair deeper, that she would have had a massive heart attack from all the blood loss right there within minutes. The girls were located and arrested almost 5 hours later, walking down one of the main highways here on their way to a national forest area that was probably 4 or 5 hours away by car. They found that knife in their bag, and they were facing up to 65 years in prison for attempted first-degree intentional homicide. Now, once the girls were being interrogated and the police started going through their houses and their artwork and their notes and things, they really found a lot of strange things, especially in Morgan's possession. Artwork that she did, little notes that she wrote, and just cries for help. I mean, certainly there were some issues that had developed. Things like "help me escape my mind" were written. Things like "I want to die." I think she was diagnosed with early onset schizophrenia, and in an interview her mother said that there is a history of that in their family, and it just seems like it had really just started to expose itself, or maybe Morgan was aware of it and just tried to hide it. Now, Anissa was diagnosed with shared psychotic disorder, which she and Morgan were just perfect in that way. They were, a perfect storm. And that's what I was talking about before, where they would feed off of each other. So the plan kept going. It was probably, if they were on their own, it probably never would have happened. And I think it was the same thing about this whole Slender Man. I think they just kept saying, no, he's definitely real. He's real, you know what I mean? And almost lying, in my opinion, I feel like they were almost fooling themselves, but they were basically kind of egging each other on, like, oh, no, he's definitely real. And it's really fascinating to listen to and watch the interrogations, the police interrogations, which you can see online. There really wasn't even much remorse. In fact, I don't think Morgan had any remorse for at the time, she didn't even know if her best friend was dead or alive, and there was just no real care. Now, I believe in Wisconsin, anyone 10 years old or older who commits a real violent crime like that, they're automatically charged as an adult. So the two girls, even just being 12 years old, were charged as adults. Anissa was the first to plead guilty in a plea deal, and for that plea deal, she would be tried with attempted second-degree intentional homicide, while for a bit, Morgan had still pled not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. So they did not go to jail, they did not go to prison, but they really got what they needed, which they both were sent to state mental facilities. Anissa up to 25 years, and Morgan was sentenced to up to 40 years. Now, an interesting thing is, I think recently, maybe as of 2021, Anissa has been released under supervision until the age of 37. It's just interesting to read about this case and to read about the mindset that those girls had. And there was such a blurred line between reality and fantasy, and with that whole Slender Man thing. Just an unfortunate situation. And this is the kind of stuff that, just like that Ed Gein video, you couldn't think this stuff up. I mean, it's that saying, stranger than fiction. Very true. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. I just wanted to show you the location, and for those who didn't know the story, that's the story of the Slender Man stabbings. See you in the next video.